So first China takes over second-rate manufacturing, and then TikTok. I mean, what's next? Gold price? So there's an idea out there that gold is moving from west to east, and the east is now controlling the market. Now, this is an interesting idea. It's maybe even feasible, but it's going to be incredibly difficult to vet, to really get behind the truth of the whole thing, because you can find whatever answer you want. You can pick and choose to find the answer to the question that matches up what you want to be true. If you want specific information like China's actual gold holdings, you can find charts, you can find diagrams illustrated around complete guesswork. So if you wanted to know that China's been buying 2 to 3 times the amount of gold that they've been reporting, well, you can find charts confirming that. What a time to be alive. Before we get back to it, if you're looking for precious metals, hit up SD Bullion. New customers even get gold and silver for spot. That's sdbullion.com/new. The reason that I'm pointing this out is that I was trying to confirm actual gold holdings or even recent increases from the People's Bank of China, and I stumbled on an interesting series of posts speculating that China has more than 5,300 tons of gold, and that's rather than the 2,250 that the World Gold Council reports. Back to the problem with the internet, though, it's really hard to separate speculation from fact. We all know how these go. We see an article or a video noting some kind of bombshell realization. You won't believe how much gold China is actually holding. Well, where does that come from? In this case, it's citing a report, which is just an article that cites another article, and so on, until you finally get to the actual source, which is written by a gold bug who admits to be speculating. And this is too bad, because I think we'd all like to get to the bottom of it to see what's really happening. This doesn't mean that China is not holding more than those 2,250 tons of gold, 2,250 tons of gold. It's reported by the World Gold Council. It just means there's no official report, or no report debunking the official report. What we do know, though, is that China's been buying more gold. They've been reporting nonstop buying since November of 2022, and it seems very feasible that they weren't reporting all of their holdings prior to that. The reason that I was trying to find evidence of underreporting gold purchases was to try to connect some dots surrounding de-dollarization and then gold's place in all of it. So we saw what happened to Russia's financial assets when they invaded Ukraine. They got locked out of the financial network, and China could risk a similar issue if they invaded Taiwan or tried to forcefully reunify Taiwan, however you'd like to phrase it. So on top of what we saw in response to Russia and how that might apply to China, China has the highest foreign exchange reserves of any country. It's something like $3.225 trillion, and they're the second largest holder of U.S. government debt. That's somewhere around $860 billion, as far as we can tell. Now, we know they've gradually been reducing their U.S. dollar holdings, but it's really hard to say by how much. And that's what I was trying to get at. Is China dumping US dollars for gold? And if so, at what level? So because I sped there a little bit, China would be moving away from US dollars for a lot of reasons. Say one might be that they don't want to risk what happened to Russia. Another might be they're afraid the US could just burn down the value of the dollar through inflation. So what they hold in debt could just be devalued. Now, I could go on and on. I could get into wilder speculation, but all of it falls under the umbrella of not wanting to be beholden to the dollar. So having gold and other reserve assets allows China options beyond that. So I suppose we could dive down here too and talk about the death of the dollar, but really that's all a level of strategery that doesn't affect the day-to-day lives of normal people, whether you hold gold or not. What we do know, though, that is affecting us is that Eastern governments have been buying more gold, and that is increasing the price of the metal. So another thing I was trying to get a clearer picture on was what the actual effect of the increased central bank purchases is having on gold price. So what is that effect? Well, it's high-level global economic stuff, and it's way over my pay grade. What has been clear, though, is the effect of the U.S. rate policy. Now that gets challenged, so let me pull up a chart quick. If you're not so sure that U.S. rate policy is driving gold price lately, I'm going to show you a few key dates here. Russia invades Ukraine February 24th, 2022. This wasn't that long ago. We all remember seeing that spike in gold price. Now, there's a pattern of buying the rumor, selling the news. So the more an event is covered, the less shocking it becomes. So 6 weeks later, when the resulting spike in prices had pulled back, it made sense that the attention had just shifted from the war. Where did it shift? Well, it shifted to rate policy because the U.S. began increasing interest rates mid-March of 2022. Now, compare that to the conflict in Israel. Hamas attacked Israel October 7th, 2023. And we saw a similar spike in gold price, and the same 6 weeks later, we started to see a pullback. But then we got Fed hints that rates are going to be cut sooner, and the hope rally took off. So no correction in gold price like we saw the year prior. Now, I've said this before, but based on the direction of gold price prior to the Hamas attack, and then based on the prior price movement like we saw the prior year when Russia invaded Ukraine, I was expecting a pullback at the end of 2023, and we know now that just didn't happen. The opposite did. Just the hope of earlier U.S. rate cuts has taken gold to new all-time highs. So underneath the volatility, though, we're still seeing rising gold prices based on the central bank buying. So if you compare China's gold reserves, foreign exchange reserves, the percentage is increasing. They're extending gold holdings, they're reducing dollar holdings. All of this is further evidence of gold as an alternative to the US dollar, as a safe haven asset. And if you don't think the US dollar is a safe haven asset, by the way, you probably live here in the United States. You probably take it for granted because most of us do. Now, what I was really trying to get at in this video was this story that the East seems to be taking over control of the gold market, at least in terms of price drivers. And even though we can't find proof of that, facts surrounding that, I think we can see that foundationally the price has gone up based on central bank buying. And the central banks doing the buying are not Western countries. So separate the facts from the speculation. We can't say that China is driving gold price, but it's feasible to think that they might in the future. And that would only mean further increases in price. So let's call it good there. Let us know what you think. Is gold becoming more relevant and more important, driving price up? Or is this just patching in some frog DNA to create a certain picture, connecting dots that really weren't meant to go together? Let us know. And then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you'd like to see more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.